This is talkSPORT MMA, and I'm delighted to be joined by UFC featherweight Arnold Allen ahead of a huge clash. What many fans are describing of as or backing as an early fight of the night contender against Jean Silva. Arnold, this is set to be an absolute blockbuster of a bout. How do you
Yeah,
feel about it? You ready to go to war with Jean Silva?
yeah, but I'm ready to go war with anyone. I fought with the best guys in the world, you know what I mean? So yeah, like very excited, and he brings out he forces a very entertaining style. So I think it's only right to oblige it.
Mm. I was really looking forward to you, Arnold, because there's just something about you from hearing your interviews, listening to you in the media, and you just seem so chilled and relaxed, which I kind of find myself doing sometimes and shout at myself for saying, no, come on, let's get back to work. What is it about Arnold Allen? Like, how are you able to stay this? I mean, you were just telling me a story for anyone watching, listening, that there was a crash or something, there was an accident on the way
Yeah.
back from the gym. So what keeps you level headed at this stage of your career?
Fuck. I don't know if I'm level-headed. I feel like I'm losing my mind half the time. But no, it's just the job is like it's what I've always wanted to do, right? I'm living my personal dream, getting to pursue my goals. You know, it's a luxury that not everyone has, and I don't know. It's not easy. You make it work and you make it happen. Obviously, a lot of people don't do it because they can't. They haven't got the effort. They haven't got the energy. You know, like I assume you're chasing a passion. Like you're doing what you love to do, right?
Yeah.
Interviewing and doing things. A lot of people probably be like, "Oh, I wish I could do that." And it's like you could. You ain't willing to do it. So yeah, just grateful for the career I've got. Like I love it. This is what I want to do since I was kicked out of school when I was 15, 14 years old. So, you know,
Mm. You were speaking to an interview with Home of Fight recently, and there was you were talking about your injury. Obviously, for just to clear that up, it was a shoulder injury, some kind of
yeah.
disconnection.
I just smashed the crap out of it basically. Um, I had a what do you call it? Subluxation where it separated and a torn labrum, then rotator cuff damage, just everything. And I did two fights with it in that state, and then I went to do a third camp, and it was just like. Yeah, that ain't happening. I was like, that ain't happening. We need to fix this before we get back there.
Yeah. The reason I was asking about that because you had a lot of time out, your last fight, UFC 304 in July, in the
Yeah.
early hours of the morning in Manchester, which I'm sure was a glorious thing to be doing. But
Oh, mate.
you talked very interestingly about how you bulked up loads, for a featherweight. I think you said you got up to like, I mean, 190 pounds. I think it was around that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was listening to your podcast with Eddie Hall, and this kind of bulk runs in the family. Mom loves to get in fights. Dad was a bodybuilder or a
I'm
strongman,
strong, man. Yeah.
strongman
My
as they
brother.
like to describe it. So, can you talk to me a bit about that transformation and how I mean, I think you find weight cuts all right. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So yeah, my brother's a strong man as well. He's well last year was Europe's strongest man at his weight class. So
Oh wow.
um but yeah, so we grew up in the gym, lifting weights and doing strength training. You know, my dad also competed as a strongman, so we have all that stuff at home. And it's just a big part of the family, really. I was getting depressed not being able to train martial arts and pursue my career and continue and go further and fight people and chase that title shot I wanted. And I just had to have little goals to keep me sane. So it's like as soon as I got the all clear to rebuild the strength, I didn't just rebuild straight. I went insane with it. It was like maybe I couldn't grapple, but I could go do squats. It's like maybe I couldn't grapple, but I could do my upper body like rehab stuff. Maybe I couldn't go sparring, but I was like, well, I can do this. So yeah, I had a target of what was I trying to squat? It was 200 kilos. I was trying to squat 200 kilos. Um, ended up doing like 190, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. And as soon as I do that, then hopefully by the time I do that, I can get back to my real training. And I did what 190, I think it was. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going back to training. Like, I surely I'm ready to go back to training. And yeah, yeah. So we went back to training from there,
Mm. And
and
in
I got a
terms
bit too
of
big.
Yeah, and in terms of actually the weight cut itself, I find it so fascinating speaking to fighters, and because everyone does it differently. When
Yeah,
do you kind of normally, when does your cut normally start, and what weight are you walking around at right now, if you don't mind?
I don't know. It's all kind of so the weight cut itself. You know what? This is actually really depressing. It's on my birthday. The actual
No
weight
way.
cut.
Oh, you're a
Yeah,
January birthday like me then.
yeah, 22nd.
Oh,
So
that's great. I'm the 7th.
it's the it's the first happy birthday. It's
You too.
the first time I've ever been in the saunas cutting weight on my birthday. But yeah, like, obviously the diet leads up. It's like 6 to 8 weeks of good strict dieting and following a good meal plan and all that stuff. The fight week is important. We do a water loading phase where you basically super hydrate and to be honest, I've done it 30 times. I don't even know the science, but I just get told to do it. I do it and it works. You manipulate the sodium and the salts in your body, and you basically hyper hydrate, and then you dehydrate, and then it's pretty shit.
Mm. Do you, you've been quite open and spoke about your mental health a lot in the sport, and you just talked about it there and setting little goals for yourself. And is that something that's kind of always been a presence in your career? Because I mean, you've been around. I mean, fans might not know you, but you've been in the around for a long time, and you've fought a
Yeah.
who's who of the very
Mm.
best in the world. So people, I suppose people would look from an outside perspective and think, how can this guy, be struggling mentally? Look what he's doing, whatever 9, 10 win streak at the start of his UFC career, and
Yeah.
fighting Max Holloway, fighting Evloev. So, what kind of things have you found that worked for yourself, and how have you been able to deal with that?
Well, it's funny. It's a funny one because it's like if I'm in a position where I can pursue my goals, I don't. Then I'm happy. Like no, nothing. I'm good. But as soon as there's something that puts a halt to that, and I can't continue. Like having an injury where I couldn't train and having to turn down fights and having to sit out for a year or so. Yeah, that sucked. That really got to me. But that's life itself outside of those things has been really good. Like some of the best moments of my life happened in that time off.
Mm.
But there was always a little bit of there's always that voice in the back of my head, like oh, career slipping away, and then you get some comments from people. It's like, oh, why are you ranked? I'm like, I don't make the rankings. I don't. I'm sitting at home minding my business, trying to recover, and like people are calling me shit. So sorry, my cat is going crazy there.
Not to
Wait,
worry. I want
yeah,
to I want to speak a little bit about your opponent. Silva. We saw him last
mm,
time out there against Diego Lopez.
yeah,
I know at the start of your career you kind of weren't so much into analyzing your opponents, but now you've switched as you've got more mature. You're starting to think a bit more about that kind of stuff.
yeah,
I mean, he was close to knocking Diego Lopez out, and he got cracked with one. That the blood on that was insane. He got
yeah.
instantly split open. So he's been able to prove, although very premature UFC career, that he can, if he wants to go there, he can. How have you how have you assessed, Silva leading up to UFC 324?
Um, he's a very dangerous opponent, very smart opponent. I think he kind of tries to lull you into the fact he isn't smart by acting crazy and doing all these things. But
And
like,
barking in the octagon.
yeah, yeah, like all this crazy stuff, and I think they want you to think you're fighting some meathead. But like, I know they're a very intelligent team. They do all their research, they study everything. I mean, half the team from Fight Nerds are now following me, watching all my updates, so that's nice. But I don't really. I've kind of, not for any reason, but I've kind of just been like a hermit this camp. I haven't
Mm.
been posting much. I haven't been putting any content out there. I have to apologize to my sponsors because they're probably not happy about it. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and funny you mentioned that the fighting nerds watching you on
mm,
Instagram and stuff like that because before your last fight, or maybe it was after UFC 304 with when you got the win over Chikadze, he blamed you for like spying or something like that, and because he was surrounded by English people, even though he was in Manchester. So I was gonna kind of ask you about these mind games. It seems to be always something, that's a topic of conversation around your fight. Obviously, people will say the fighting nerds, they're trying to learn something about yourself, trying to see what you're doing in the gym, but obviously you're not
You
going to
just see
post
my cat's
something.
ass. Yeah,
They're not
yeah,
going to post you're not going to post something unless you want people to see it. So have
yeah.
you ever been involved in these kind of mind games in the past, or you're just, as you said, you've been a hermit for this camp?
Uh, Never really. Like I don't. Yeah, like the thing when I fought Chikadze, it was just a weird thing. I think he was just being paranoid, but he was a bit of a strange guy. But yeah, with these guys, they're watching everything. They want to see what you're doing. And maybe it's maybe less they want to see what you're doing. They want to like show their presence. Like they're like, oh, we're watching. So then you start thinking, I'm like, "Man, I just post a picture of my cat. I don't really give a shit." But yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. So, but no, not me personally. Um, the mind games are in my own mind, and I'm winning the battle in my own head. So yeah, yeah, they could. This is I'm more confused than anyone about my own brain, so like they could try whatever they want to
Mm,
fuck with my head.
yeah. As I said earlier on, maybe level-headed was the wrong word in your own mind, but very just relaxed and chilled. I wanted to kind of ask you about because next year, well, sorry, this year now, 2026 is going to be a
Mm.
big year for British MMA. You have
Yeah,
even on this card, I've not long been speaking to Modestus, Atiba at Manchester top team, and obviously Paddy headlining it, and yourself on the
yeah,
card. I mean, your record stands well and beyond any of them. Even Paddy, and Paddy's now in the position to be
mm.
fighting for a belt, which you haven't quite got yet in your career.
Yeah,
And I know you've been very open about, you learn quickly that you almost have to put on a bit of a persona or show a bit more character to. Do you think that's been something that you maybe haven't done enough of in your career, and maybe why? you know, as you said, the socials aren't as recognized. I know it probably doesn't mean much to you, but do you think that has played a reason into why you maybe haven't got a title shot or stuff like that?
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, if I was on a 10 fight win streak and I had a million followers on Instagram, I don't doubt I would have fought for a title already, right? So yeah, who out there? I think there's probably only a handful of people you could say had a 10 fight win streak in the UFC and didn't fight for a title, except
Mm.
me and Tony Ferguson or something like that. But yeah, I mean, if I was the character and doing all these things and whatever, but that is the game. It is 50% entertainment, or maybe more entertainment than it is sport, right? So have to play it. And like, I do have a character. I'm not this.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I just don't put it out there much, right? And the UFC doesn't necessarily build their own stars anymore. They
Mm.
want the stars to come to them, then they portray it. I think they did it with McGregor, then he started trying to call shots, and I don't think they want that again, right? So yeah, yeah, it's a different sort of lay of land. You have to kind of build yourself. And you see now every fighter has a YouTube channel. And like I say, I've been a bit of a hermit. I haven't posted crap on my YouTube channel in a while. I haven't posted nothing. And then you see people do the vlogs and like I don't know, the content creators just. I always joke that my problem is like I'm too real to sell out and do anything. And like me myself, I'm just like a quiet, humble character. So it's like, who really wants to see the quiet, humble, awkward guy?
Mm.
Like, I'd
Yeah.
rather see the loud, barking, Larry guy.
But you usually just let your fighting do the talking, Arnold.
Yeah,
And let's kind of. I just want to look into the rankings a wee bit. You've got the likes of Sterling, Lerone Murphy, Rodriguez, Diego Lopez, and obviously the champ
yeah.
Volkanovski above you. I would assume that this year you're hoping that the shoulder stays all right, and
I could hope
hoping
so.
you come out unscathed at UFC 324. It's
Yeah,
just continuing to look up, I'm guessing.
yeah. Like I want a busy year. I want to fight at least 3 times, especially with fighting January. So January, July, December. There you go. Why not? That'd be perfect. And 3 wins there. I don't see why the third fight wouldn't be a title fight. Get a good win here, number one contender spot. See what happens with the division. I'm sure Larone's fighting Mosvar. I don't think that's official, but that's probably what's going to happen for a number one contender. See who wins there. See how the lay of the land looks in a let's say 3 to 4 months. We'll see what things look like.
Mm. Yeah, we're hoping to get that Lerone Evloev fight at UFC London. Nothing yet, but it seems like the only real big
Yeah, it makes sense,
attraction
right?
that they can put on. Would it be too quick of a turnaround to get yourself on that card? Should you win in Vegas?
Yeah, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. That ain't happening.
Too quick a
Like, you
turnaround.
know what I mean? If everything goes perfect in a couple of minutes, we're in and out. Sweet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no worries. But no, looking at my track record, no, that ain't happening.
What were your thoughts on Lopez getting the title shot ahead of Lerone and Mosvar?
Um, yeah, I get it. I get it. I think there was a little bit of I think Lerone probably got offered he got the talk of because I got offered the Pico fight first.
Mm,
While I was injured, I had to turn it down. So then he probably got the same deal I did, which was, you know, number one contender fight. You win this, you're getting the title shot.
yeah.
And he went out impressed, scored a nice knockout. I think it was some people said knockout of the year, fantastic. Maybe he should have got a title shot, deserved it, but I don't know for whatever reason they didn't want to do it. So, and I think maybe in the sense Pico isn't really established in the UFC at all. In MMA itself, he's very good, everyone knows. But in the UFC is not really established. So you could say he took out not a nobody. That would be the wrong way to say it, but like he's not established amongst the UFC.
Mm. And then obviously the Evloev fight, it could be so in a theoretical, say, I mean, you were offered Rodriguez as well. Am I right in saying?
I was meant to be in December, but he had a surgery.
Okay, so say that fight gets made after this, you win,
Yeah.
Lerone wins, maybe Lerone fights for the title, wins the title. How do you sit on that fence? Because I know some fighters are like, no, I would never fight such and such. But I'm guessing if Lerone Murphy was champion, you're taking that
I'll, f-
fight. It doesn't
I'll
matter
fight
if
my
you're.
mum for a title fight. Yeah. I'd fight anyone for a title. Yeah. No, so I'm not in the UFC. I'm not the biggest fan of like the domestic matchups because it's. I don't know if it's stupid, but like, because I like Lerone. I'd never. We haven't like trained together. We're cross paths, mutual friends, all this stuff. Like, he seems like a good bloke.
Mm,
But like, it just seems like if you're making a domestic fight like that, it's like we fought through like Cage Warriors, fought through all these local shows and domestic shows. We're on the world scene now. It's like I don't want to fight against domestic guys on the world scene. But if it's a title thing, then that's the best of the best, right? So, but yeah, like I don't want to be number one in the country. I want to be number one in the world. So, and I'm sure that's the mentality of a lot of guys. It just doesn't in my head. I'm like, why? But yeah, titles are different.
mm. How do you see that Volk Lopez rematch playing out?
I don't see it being much different than the first fight, to be honest. The only thing that is concerning is Volk is he is at the arse end of his career. He is there, and like how much his age catching up with him, and he's very busy outside of the cage and doing all the other stuff and businesses, and he's living the high life, man. He's got the best cooking show around, and I'm sure he's making some big money elsewhere. How many times does he want to put himself through hell in the camps and go through all of that, Like he said, if it doesn't go to plan, he gets beat up, that's probably him. So
Mm.
yeah, yeah. I think yeah, I think he wins. I think he wins. But if it looks the same as the first fight, which I don't see why it wouldn't. So yeah.
And staying on the theme of predictions, Pimblett versus Gaethje is. I'm guessing there's a British bias in that one.
No, they're not. He's scouts, and they say they ain't
Yeah,
English.
that's true. Scouse not English, but
Yeah,
what
yeah.
do you think?
So there's no bias. I think
Yeah,
that
it's
is
no
going to be,
bias.
yeah.
That's what it
There's
means.
no bias at all from an Englishman to a Liverpudlian. No, like I think he'll win. I think Paddy looked great. The momentum he's got, the improvements he's made. I think there was maybe a point in his UFC career where, he was like not impressing, getting fat, maybe personal things. I think he mentioned dealing with some depression and stuff like that. And it seems that whatever he's done is like, he's turned it on and taking shit seriously. And he's making improvements every time he fights. And like the Chandler performance looked fantastic. And every fight before that. I know people pull up the records and say that they're on losing records and they were perfect matchups. Maybe. Maybe they're all perfect matchups, but he did the perfect performance. So, yeah, the perfect matchup, but he did exactly what he needed to do. So,
Mm. Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira. You've been in
yeah.
there with Max, five rounds. It's you see him getting the job done against Charles.
Yeah, I think Max wins that. I think Max wins that. And he looks so much better at lightweight as well. So, um, yeah, I think Max wins that. Just too mobile, moves too good, boxing's too crisp. Not even crisp, he's just like he moves too much. He does a lot. Charles is a bit like stuck in the ground, heavy legs,
Mm.
plants his feet and gets caught in those. It might be similar to how Max beat Gaethje, with a less powerful puncher.
I'm not sure if you've seen the training footage of Charles practicing his standing and
Yeah,
banging, and a few people were a bit concerned in that department.
yeah. But no, like, yeah, I think Max wins it. I think Max wins it, picks him apart.
Mm. And just a couple more things, Arnold, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah,
The UFC White House card is coming up thick and fast, and
yeah,
fighters very different reactions. Obviously the Americans really want to get involved, and the likes of Paddy, not too bothered, and Brandon Royval has made some comments in the past saying the same. He doesn't fancy fighting in front of a bunch of billionaires, but and actually, funny, Dana White just came out today and said McGregor Chandler not likely. He said that's not going to happen on that card. Are you
yeah.
bothered as a fighter in the UFC about fighting at the White House?
Mm,
It
no,
would
not
be
as
quite cool.
yeah, no, like it would be really cool, to tell friends, your family, all that. I bet the experience would be nuts. But it's just one of them ones. It's like I'm not big on politics. Literally, my take is I tweet occasionally calling Starmer a bellend because I don't think anyone likes him. Right? He's not great. I'm not politically educated or anything like this. So I know enough to know a little. I know a little, but I don't like having politics in sports. I know it can be if you're a star athlete, yeah, you can use your platform to push who you want, whatever. I get that, but I don't know. Sports should be protected away from that. You know what I mean? It's a place where the whole thing we're all one. It's not left, right. It's not white, black. All these things. So I like keeping politics away from my sport.
Mm. So it would be a nice idea, but not fussed if you don't get the call.
Yeah, I don't think I get the call. Maybe on 10 Downing Street, I'll have a fight.
Maybe if you go knock out Jean Silva in the first round and get another fight before, become the champ, all of a sudden you're in. Trump's promised eight or
Yeah,
nine title fights on that card.
yeah.
Yeah, no, but I do get where you're coming from. And just one more thing, I'm very intrigued to ask about. Back, you had a lot of amateur fights, not a lot, but what I meant was across various, kickboxing
Yeah.
and you've talked before about your boxing. Obviously, I think you started off in boxing before you went into
Yeah.
MMA. Yeah, that
I was
was.
a Eastern Counties champion back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Amateur boxer. Yeah,
Yeah. So you started that first, and obviously, I'm sure you're very aware of the current state of boxing, MMA, and the
yeah.
crossover there is now. We've seen Jake Paul enter the sport fighting the Nate Diaz's, the Anderson
Yeah.
Silvas of the
Joshua.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the fight with Anthony Joshua happens. It just seems like you can never say never to anything these days. And
Mm.
reports of Ronda Rousey fighting Katie Taylor, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Has that been something that's ever interested you, or any? Have you ever had any offers in that department? Could that be a post UFC win the belt, go into boxing kind of good move for your own career?
Yeah. I actually got offered a pro contract before signing the UFC to go pro. And that was initially my goal was to box when I was 15, 16. I wanted to be a amateur or a professional boxer, that's what I wanted to do. Um, for the right opportunity, yeah, I don't think I would be pursuing a career, like maybe a couple of fights here and there. But boxing's a rough old sport. After a rough career of MMA, I don't know if I want to be pursuing another career in boxing for maybe for a couple of fights, but yeah, I wouldn't pursue a whole career it. But I've always said if if the UFC doesn't work out in MMA, or maybe I achieve everything I want to achieve and I'm happy, I'd like to have a pro fight on my license on my card, just say I've done it.
Mm. And just to finish off, Allen versus Silva, the first fight of the first main card at
Yeah.
UFC 324. Now, Rose Namajunas is now above you, that they've been brought
Mhm.
onto the main card because
Yeah.
Harrison, obviously, what happened with Kayla Harrison and that fight being called off, which is devastating because I couldn't wait for that one. Can you just talk to me about the kind of, I mean, that must feel amazing. All eyes will be on you two. It's clearly Dana White expects big things, expects an all-out war between yourselves.
Yeah, to be honest, I've always seemed to be getting that spot on the cards, like either the ultimate prelim or the main, whatever it is, the opener on the main.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good sign that, they know I'm in exciting fights. But yeah, it's really cool. But really, in my head, I'm just like, I want to be headlining these shows. I don't
Mm.
want to be the opener. I don't want to be the fucking closer. I want to be the big dog. So, but like we said earlier, maybe I have to build my character up a little bit more, and I've had a year out, so whatever, it's cool. We've got to build up. I want to be headlining these pay-per-views, and that's the goals I have for myself.
And how do you see this fight ending on January 24th?
I think it's going to be very fun. I think everyone's going to be like, it's opening the thing for a reason, right? It's going to be a good fight. The people that know he never really brings a boring fight. Me neither. So there's going to be some barking, there's going to be some blood, there's going to be screaming. It's going to be great.
Top man, Arnold. I really appreciate your time today. Happy birthday for the 22nd
Thank you, mate.
of January. January birthdays are reserved for the very best people, and
Yeah.
safe travels getting over to Vegas from Montreal. What's the distance? How long is that going to take?
Uh, it's a 4 hour flight, but
Oh, it's all right.
yeah, it's east to west, so it's not too bad.
And you're going the weekend, get acclimatized and all things like
Yeah,
that, and then it's straight into
that's
fight
it.
week.
That's it.
Do you
So
enjoy fight weeks?
yeah. Like this is actually the worst week, like leading into fight week, because it's like, oh, you got to do a little bit of training. You have to tone it down. It's a bit shit. You get the fight week, it's like all systems go. Like we're
Chill.
here, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, and it seems like you quite enjoy, speaking to the media and stuff.
yeah. I like doing it. It's the when I see I have a list of all these things to do, and I'm like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
When
So
there's a big thing ahead of you.
yeah, exactly.
Top man. I really appreciate your time today, and I'm praying for big things this year for yourself and all the British guys at UFC
Thank you, man.
324.
Appreciate it, buddy.